So from a Canadian demographic perspective, we are entering a new paradigm in the coming decades as the post-World War II boom, which represents about a third of the Canadian population, age from the high participation stage of the life cycle, high consumption stage of the life cycle as well with respect to food and consumption of other goods, into older stages of the life cycle where they may not be working as much, lower participation, and also consuming much different things in terms of all range of producer goods and services. Some of the aspects of that on the labor force side, specifically for farms and farmers, are that the farming population is significantly older than the population as a whole. They also tend to work much longer, not retire as early as what your average person within the workforce would. So from that aspect, demographics is going to change the face of that of the farming population. It's going to be much more wrinkled in the coming years than what it has been in the past. The flip side of that is, from a demographic perspective, for things like farm laborers and some of the other more detailed producers, those particular occupations or those segments of farming in Canada have traditionally relied upon a stock of young labor force migrants coming in to fill in the jobs, and then they may go to other jobs within the same industry or other industries altogether. So from a demographic perspective, Canadian population going to grow relatively slowly as a result of a relatively low fertility rate, about 1.7 kids per female right now. So what that means is that that segment of the population of that younger workforce is going to grow relatively slowly compared to previous generations. So it has implications for filling in or attracting people into those occupations that traditionally rely on a big stock of younger folks to come in for their workforce. What's going to backstop that or fill in for that is immigration. Most typical immigrant into Canada right now is in their early 30s, in that stage of the life cycle where they may be in those particular occupations. So the face of those occupations, or the people working within those occupations, is going to change. The older side, the farmers, are going to get more wrinkly. The younger side is certainly going to get much more culturally diverse in the coming years, as immigration is going to play a much larger role with respect to population growth and change in Canada than it has in the past. There's also implications for consumer markets and consumption in terms of beef products and other foods as well. In terms of the post-World War II boom generation, they're aging into a stage of the life cycle where their consumption patterns are going to change a little bit. Post-World War II boom is the first generation generally in Canadian history that's going to retire with predominantly 2 pensions. They're also living longer. Long and increasing life expectancies is going to cause a lot of them to work, albeit some of them part-time, for longer periods of time as well. And their consumption patterns are going to change. From an economics perspective, they're probably not going to be at the lower end of the consumption, not trying to buy pounds and pounds of hamburger to feed 4 hungry kids, but a little bit more of a refined taste with respect to what they pick and choose at to fill their plates and their bellies over time. We also have this aspect of diversifying markets on the cultural side, again, as immigration plays a larger role. The younger marketplace is certainly going to change as well in terms of its cultural diversity, which also has implications for things like what people eat, when, how, and how much they spend on doing it.